What's the dumbest thing you ever got in trouble for at school? I was accused of plagiarism by 2 professors and was given a big long talk about how seriously it was taken. I was confused and crying by the end. They then show me the art I think I copied, and it was from my own site that had popped up in a Google image search, SMH. You gotta love that the teachers just assumed it was plagiarism so quick they didn't even check to see what link they were clicking on to see if it was hers. I mean, honestly, man, it can't be that hard to double check that they aren't plagiarizing, right? If you're already going through all the work to check if they are. The least you could do is give them the benefit of the doubt and make sure it's not their art page, bro. You stole your art. No, I didn't. Yes, you did.
I'm getting quiet now. Laying low when you reach zone, wiping down, making out.
Well, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrubby here, back again with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at some funny Reddit posts about dumb teachers. I wanted to clarify, alright, obviously not most teachers are dumb, like a majority of teachers, you know, it's a hard job, they're working their buns off. That being said, like any profession, some of them tend to be stupid, so I figured that we would just make a video about the dumb ones. But yeah, you know, that's a disclaimer, so that way you're not running around thinking that all teachers are stupid or that I think that. And without further ado, let's get into some stories. Had a tutor at university who failed 95% of the class. We all complained to the head and explained that if we all failed, that the tutor must not have taught us very well. To the head's credit, she took it very seriously and had everyone's paper regraded. Turns out, everyone passed. See, I don't know if this teacher actually learned their lesson, because I'm sure you passed, you know, but I don't think everyone in the class passed. They were like, look, are you even grading the papers? You failed everyone. You're right, I'll regrade them. Pass, 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 pass. Like, it doesn't seem like any work was done. It just seems like she changed the grade to the exact opposite of what she had before. I will say I'd rather have a teacher hell-bent on making sure I pass than making sure I fail, though. Like, if I gotta pick one. My best friend had a science teacher in middle school that gave him 0 credit for an answer he gave on an exam. The question was, what happens to metal when exposed to air for a long period of time? He answered, the metal oxidizes with air, which slowly over time destroys the integrity of the metal. He got 0 credit because he didn't use the exact word rust. Listen, man, why you out here with all the technical mumbo jumbo that they actually taught you? Everybody knows that you're supposed to just use one-word answers for everything, dude. Rust. You know they would have written that one off for not being in a complete sentence or something. On the bright side, you understand the concept of metal oxidizing and losing strength over time. I'm pretty sure rust doesn't happen to every metal too. Like, every metal oxidizes, but not everything rusts, Mr. Science Teacher Genius. Anyways, back to my favorite game, jumping on rusty nails. That's not a good game, don't play that. My teacher thought that water was not regenerated and cleaned. She thought that the clean water that we currently had access to was eventually going to run out, and she would yell at kids that drank too much water, telling them that the earth was going to dry up soon because they were being greedy by being thirsty. I mean, I do understand that, like, it takes a while for water to be processed and regenerated, so we can have droughts and stuff. That being said, I don't really know what screaming at people for drinking too much water is gonna do. I think thirst is one of those things you don't really have much control over. If you get thirsty, you're just thirsty. Like, some kid comes to your class after PE, he just ran like an 8-mile marathon. Hey, no water for you, buddy. What are you, being greedy? There's a finite amount of that to go around. Like, I don't know, man. If someone needs water, that seems like something you don't want to deny them. My college fired a biology professor just weeks before the semester began, so they hired a chiropractor to teach the main intro to bio class for students intending to go into scientific, engineering, and health-related fields. That was literally his only qualification. He essentially would read PowerPoints verbatim, release us after 15 minutes, and escape the room before the flood of questions could hit him. I learned later that his 20-year-old teaching assistant had to teach him the basics just so he could write the exam. Listen, I'm not trying to 720 no-scope any chiropractors here. I just feel like at some point the college has got to take the blame for hiring a dude to teach a subject he had no qualifications in. That's like some university tomorrow hiring me to, like, teach French, dude. I don't know anything about French. I could walk in there and le petit croissant my way up there, but it's gonna be horrible and no one's gonna learn anything. And sure, you know, and am I an idiot for taking the job? Absolutely. But at a certain point, they're bigger idiots for still signing the paycheck when clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. He really got a university gig and got a university salary to do nothing. My 4th grade year was an eventful one that I will remember forever. The super blonde girl next to me for head lice that you could see crawling in her hair, 9/11 happened, and I got suspended for refusing to eat lunch. At the beginning of the day, we got to pick our lunch from 3 food options. We either got white, red, or blue chips. The options that day in question were peanut butter and jelly, ravioli, or chicken patties. For context, I always hated chicken patties because, well, mayo, and I have serious issues with jelly, so in this case, ravioli was the safe choice. I got to lunch with my ravioli chip and collected my lunch. I ate the roll that came with it, but took a bite of the ravioli and decided it was gross and I wasn't gonna eat it. After I'd eaten the roll, vegetable, and drank my juice, I hated milk even though we had options of strawberry, chocolate, coffee, or plain milk. I went and threw away the tray. One of the teachers supervising lunch saw me throwing out a tray full of ravioli and decided it was a problem and I needed to eat. She stopped me from throwing out the food and told me I needed to finish at least half of it before she'd let me throw it away and go to recess. I was stubborn and determined not to eat the gross mystery meat ravioli, so I refused and sat at the lunch table. When recess was coming to an end, I think the teacher must have felt like I needed to be taught a lesson or something, because she took me to the office with the recommendation that my mom be called for what I guess was non-compliance. I got to listen to my mom being called because I was suspended for the rest of the day and the next day, and when she showed up to pick me up 30 minutes later, I got to listen to her chew out the secretaries when she found out why I was being suspended. My mom made a huge stink about it, and the school was willing to do plain peanut butter sandwiches if requested from then on out. Dude, school food is already bad enough. Now I'm just imagining some whack school ravioli, you know that couldn't have been good, and some teacher standing over you like, eat it, otherwise you will be suspended. What type of lesson are you trying to teach that kid, dude? If you don't eat lunch, you don't have to come to school for 2 days? Like, okay, man, if you're really throwing that down, little kid me would have never been at school again. I'd be dodging lunch like it was a dodgeball. Yeah, no, just go ahead and send me home for a couple days. I've got some Pokemon to catch. That would be fine with me. You can talk to my secretary, get that all set up. I just feel like suspending kids for not eating lunch, like, is way too big of a punishment compared to the non-crime. This happened in India, so some of the things may not apply to Western colleges, but even in college, we couldn't walk out of classes as we like. The professor had to permit you to do so. I was about 10 minutes late to class one day, and when I entered the classroom, I saw there was nobody there. It took me about 10 seconds to realize this was a mass bunk. Basically, the entire class coordinated with each other and skipped. So I took off for the exit, but the professor saw me and asked me to go into the class and sit there, so I did. Now, I was the only person in class while this guy taught some boring crap for 40 minutes, and at the end of class, he wanted to mark attendance. So he pulls out his attendance register, and instead of just marking my name as present, he called out every one of the 40 students' names while I just answered absent for all of them until my name came around, which was the end of the list. Oh, this one's just brutal, dude. I feel like the teacher punished the wrong people. Are you kidding me? You had a class with 40 people. 39 didn't show up, so you're just gonna make the one guy who did show up's life miserable? I mean, I just feel like he did you dirty. I feel like he was mad at the rest of the class for ditching, right? So he's like, I'll show them. I'm gonna read out all of their names just to teach them a lesson. Not really thinking about the fact that that's just gonna make the one person in your class never gonna want to come back. No wonder everybody ditched. I'm just saying, dude. If he was doing stuff like this, I can only imagine why everybody was like, yeah, let's just not go. We were supposed to have a sub in my AP Environmental Science class. Well, she never showed up. Our assignment was on the desk, so we just picked one up, returned to our seats, and started working on it. No sub ever came, and when the bell rung, we just went to our next class. The next day, the sub that was supposed to be there came in and yelled at us for 20 minutes about how irresponsible we were and how she was disappointed in us. Apparently, we were supposed to go to the front office and tell them, without a hall pass, which would have been against the rules, instead of just taking a paper, which is literally the same thing the sub would have done if she had actually come and was working on it. Wait, you're saying the school was mad that all these kids went into class without a teacher and it didn't end up in a small fire? Are you kidding me? If anything, they should be grateful that everybody was unsupervised for so long and nothing bad happened. I feel like if I would have had a class with no teacher in it, me and my friends probably would have found a way to like accidentally, light something on fire or some stupid situation. The fact that they were mature enough to just grab the worksheet, go sit back down, and then do it in its entirety should be something the school's proud of, not screaming at them about. Why were you guys so responsible yesterday, huh? What do you think this is? Our goal of education to make you into functioning members of society? Get that out of your heads. I had to write a paper for a marketing class in college, and in my college, the rule for every professor was grammatical errors deduct 5 points from your grade. The paper involved a hypothetical advertising campaign, and when I got it back, there was a -5 notation in red pen with no explanation, so I asked the professor after class. Her problem was the sentence, "The budget for the campaign is $15 million. She said it should read, "The budget for the campaign are $15 million. Did they give another chiropractor like a professor job this time in the English department and marketing department instead? Seriously, man, how do you think the budget is 15 million R dollars or whatever it was makes any sense? Like, I can't even repeat it because it was so illogical. Let me do my best here. All right, guys, as you know, we're doing a huge advertising campaign to boost sales of our product. The budgeting campaign are $15 million, and everybody in the room is just like, I don't know if that was right, but I feel like it's rude to interrupt the meeting and ask. In A-level chemistry mock exam, the question asked along the lines, why is chlorine used in water treatment? And I put, it acts as a disinfectant. I got 0 marks for that question and a sentence underneath saying, incorrect, it kills bacteria. I contested this and ended up getting into a debate with the teacher until the head of science walked in and I explained my case, for which he turned around and agreed with me, and I ended up getting the mark, although the teacher was bit off with me for a while. This is the absolute worst, bro, when someone's just being insanely nitpicky for no reason and just refuses to admit that it's a little bit absurd. You know, you're like, hey man, I called the exterminator. They're like, don't you mean pest control? You're like, I mean, it's kind of the exact same thing. No, an exterminator's job is to kill things. Pest control's job is to potentially kill things and also potentially remove it from the home. It's like, all right, I mean, yeah, but like, you knew what I meant, you know? It's the same thing. No, it's simply not, okay? Bacterial, disinfectant, and, you know, killing bacteria, two very different things, okay? Let's not get it complicated here. Where do you think the bacteria goes, bro? Like, what did you think happened to the 99.9% of bacteria that goes away after Purell? Did you think they got sent away to a farm upstate? No, it's germ warfare. They got decapitated by the Purell, bro. In my college math class, we had a teacher that didn't know what he was teaching. Literally 0 help when we had questions and constantly contradicting himself. 79% of the class failed the midterm, so the school refired him. Yes, I said refired. He was fired before for not being a good teacher. See, listen, okay, I'm not denying that a lot of the teachers in these stories are stupid, right? But like, dude, if they're gonna get hired and be dumb and get paid to be dumb, I don't know why they wouldn't take advantage of that. I'm just flabbergasted that this guy could be this dumb, get fired once for being a horrible teacher, and then the same school that just fired him for being an idiot's like, you know what, maybe he stopped being an idiot in the last 3 weeks. Whatever, I say we give it another try. Life's about second chances, right? And it's like, yeah, if they've shown they've redeemed themselves, if it's just been a week, then like, I don't really know about that one, Chief, especially when it comes to teaching people math. I feel like that's something you gotta really apply yourself to get good at. You don't just magically pick up those skills on Duolingo. When I was in the 7th grade, we would shuttle between teachers for specific subjects. So our 7th grade homeroom teacher would cover most things, but the 8th grade teacher would teach us science and the 6th grade teacher would teach us literature. Anyways, that year they hired a brand new 6th grade teacher. She must have been no older than 24 and she had a very pompous attitude. I really think she thought she was going to revolutionize the world of elementary school teaching or something. Upon entering her class for our very first session, we were immediately subjected to an intensive literature test, which obviously none of us studied for, since we had no way of knowing about it ahead of time. I don't think she even introduced herself to us during that first session, and it took up the entire time. Puzzled, we turned them in and went back to homeroom. When we entered class the next day, we noticed our desks had been split into 2 sections with a large gap down the middle. We were told not to take our usual seats, and instead she began reading off our names in a seat and sat us in a hand-picked formation. As everyone got settled in and wondered what was going on, she explained. The seating was based off the test results. Apparently, she decided to test us on the first day and attempt to gauge the intelligence of every student. And our seats now reflected this measurement. The left half of the room was designated the smart half, and the right half was designated the dumb half. Now, she wouldn't have to pay much attention to the left side because they were ahead of the curve, and she could just make sure that the right side didn't choke to death on their own saliva. I remember my mind being blown at the sheer stupidity of this adult I was supposed to be learning from, and I remember several people breaking into tears upon finding out they were the dumb ones. Needless to say, it resulted in chaos, bitter battle lines drawn amongst a bunch of preteens who had known each other for a decade, and friendships disintegrated, and childhood trust was never again reestablished, even after her idea was shot down by the school. In one move, she single-handedly destroyed the rapport of an entire junior high class. It is true that different levels of intelligence occur in every class, but good kids on both sides never pointed that out. Kids shouldn't get singled out for being smart or for being dumb, and yet this teacher managed to single both out in one colossally stupid move. Bro, this is so messed up on so many levels. First of all, I feel like middle school's already bad enough, dude. Kids are mean enough. You don't also need to add to the fact that now they know that they're a part of the smart half or dumb half, dude. Imagine being put on the dumb half of the room and being like, oh, okay, this is just sick. Thanks for calling me stupid. My goodness gracious, what in the world were they thinking? Just imagine him being one of the smart kids, low-key, your ego's now through the roof. You're like, maybe I can float using the power of my mind like a Jedi. I never considered the fact that I was this gifted, but maybe I can have powers. You know, they're like, Mom, please do not speak to me anymore. I'll have you know that I sit on the smart side of the classroom, and I no longer speak to people that are dumb. Tell Dad I no longer wish to see him, and he can sleep in the doghouse. He is dumber than all of us, and because of that, he must be punished. My chemistry teacher asked us all to find H2O on the elements table. After failing to find it, he decided he was going to write the company who produced the school's educational posters to correct their mistake, as if they'd forgotten about water, the most important element. It took a while to explain it to him. I figured at first it must have been a clever plan to get us more involved with the class lesson, but no, he was just incompetent. He eventually abandoned the lesson on elements and gave us a 45-minute lecture on why children today do not care enough about history and are generally ignorant, including, but not limited to, our lack of respect and interest for Winston Churchill, the martyr and war hero who died for our country after being shot by Adolf, and he was conveniently asked on multiple day trips during our school inspection. Nothing says children today don't know history like saying Winston Churchill was shot during World War II, bro. Hey man, whatever floats your boat. Yep, all the kids today are really stupid. It's almost like just because he's a chemistry teacher, he just assumes that he has to be right in everything. You know, he's like, listen, I teach chemistry. I'm a history expert here. Once again, dude, I don't know why this has to be explained to so many people. If you have a degree in chemistry, you're a chemistry expert. It doesn't mean that you're like a finance guru, okay? That's all right. You just weren't trained in that. I had a substitute math teacher when I was a freshman in high school that somehow lost his grade book, and instead of telling the principal, he just gave everyone an F for the class that quarter. I got my butt whooped for bringing home my one and only F, but thankfully he was fired after the school newsletter went out and I got a Nintendo 64 as an apology from my parents. Overall, a Nintendo 64 to like not get an F and just have a teacher get fired for trying to fail you is pretty solid. The only regret is I wish your parents would have been nicer to you about it. You didn't even fail the class, bro. He's so confused. He's like, I don't understand. I'm promising you that I'm really good at math. They're like, well then how did you get an F? I really don't know. He had to have, like, lost his grade book or something. Oh, yeah, you expect me to believe that the teacher lost his grade book? Yeah, I guess. Next thing you know, the newsletter comes out. They're like, we have to buy him a video game console. I had a teacher in college that arrived late every day. Without even knowing what the subject was, he had to teach that day. He would then spend the entire class solving an equation and failing at it over and over. After 2 months, he realized he was completely useless, so he decided that the class would be self-taught by programming a virtual room on the class subject. I dropped out the next day and told him I was dropping out. He still gave me the lowest passing grade available, and I realized too late to challenge it, losing the chance to retake the class and get a good grade. Teachers like this are the worst, bro. Like, you're late every day, so he drops out because he respects his time and probably has stuff to do, can't afford to just be sitting around waiting for a teacher that doesn't know what he's doing to not show up. Meanwhile, might as well go ahead and try to torpedo his entire academic career by failing him. Like, what does that do, bro? He was just dropping the class. If you just let him leave, everything's fine. No, you have to try to fail him and like ruin his school career? My goodness, that's a level of petty I didn't know was achievable. Especially considering you're the reason he's dropping out because you can't teach. You think you'd be a little understanding. In high school, the photography teacher was brilliant with photography, but dumb as a sack of rocks. I remember showing him a color photo and I had developed, and he asked me how long I exposed it, and I said 60 seconds. And he said, all right, well, try a minute. Listen, I'm sure 60 seconds of exposure was great and all, but I think your teacher has a point. 1 minute probably could do quite a lot of wonders for developing it into something even better. You should tell him that when he asks how late you were. You know, be like, oh, I was 60 seconds late. And he's like, oh, okay, whatever. Next time, just make sure it's under a minute. You know, 60 is bigger than 1, right? My high school world history teacher taught from the book verbatim. Never wrote on the dry erase board, never did handouts, just nose down in the book word for word teaching. The tests were summary questions that were at the back of the book. When you asked a question and the answer wasn't word for word in the book, he would look at you and say, I don't know. A friend of mine became a teacher at that school, and she said he teaches middle school science the exact same way. Dude, how do teachers like this not end up getting fired? Like, he literally is reading word for word from the book. Whenever someone asks a question, he just says, I don't know. You would think after reading the book word for years on end, you know, if he's been at this job for a while, he would have at least been able to retain some of the information information. It's almost impressive that he's like managed to not learn anything from the book. He has to be actively trying not to absorb any of the information if that's the case. You know what I mean? Like, you almost have to respect how adamant he is to not learn world history while being a world history teacher. That being said, I think he's a horrible teacher and he shouldn't be doing the whole teaching thing, and the kids are really the people that are gonna suffer. Like, even though all these teachers, I get why you would do a job that you don't have to work at. It does suck because the kids are the ones that suffer if you're a bad teacher. Anyways, guys, I think that'll do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought, and of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on those notifications. I've been making a lot of these Reddit videos because you guys seem to like them, so I'm just going to keep grinding them out. You guys know how it is. That being said, if you really want to help me out, I'll put a link to the intro song down below, along with the link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or you could use code Scrubby at the G Fuel checkout. Great way to get a discount on G Fuel. Help me out at the same time. And last but not least, 2 more things I got to plug. I do put some of my content up on Spotify, so if you want to give that a listen, I'll put that link at the top of the description. Feel free. And of course, we have the coolest merch to ever exist in the history of the planet. That link's at the bottom of the description, but you can go pick it up and get yourself one. Like I said, coolest merch ever, so you should definitely go get some drip. But yeah, on that note, guys, that'll officially do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I will see each and every single one of you guys next time with another video. I'm out. Peace.